Hi there. My name is Shannon, and I'm Willamette Week's Music and Visual Arts Editor. I'm here today with comedian, musician, podcast host, and activist Christian Burke, aka Creme Brulee. Christian, how are you doing today?
Fantastic. Happy to be here in my backyard.
Yeah, it looks nice out there.
It's
um,
lovely.
so happy day after National Creme Brulee Day. How did you celebrate?
Thank you. Um, I woke up, someone actually direct messaged me on Instagram to tell me it was National Creme Brulee Day in the morning. That's not something that was on my personal radar. Um, but when I found out, I was, you know, everyone just needs a day to celebrate themselves every once in a while, because it's good to celebrate yourself and love yourself, especially in in this time period for me that's very like hyper focused on a million other things besides my own self care and self love. It was cool. So one of my roommates made a very large creme brulee, and we ate it and then made pancakes out of the remains this morning.
You've obviously been doing a lot of different things at a lot of different protests, but I wanted to start by asking you about the dance off that you hosted on Friday. How did that come about, and how did that end up going?
Yeah, a couple good friends of mine. I wish I could. I'm so on Instagram these days. I like mostly know people by their Instagram handles, which is kind of it's this year. And so my good friends Faith Fawcett, whose name I believe is Carla, and Mad Composer Lab, both of their Instagram ads. Um, Mad Composer Lab's a drummer. Carla is just someone who has tremendous energy and organizes a lot of really beautiful artistic events shoots around town. She approached me about having that idea, and asked me if I'd want to lead a dance off. That's I've done a million different creative things, but never been asked to do a dance off. So I was like, sure. But it came together, if as I'm sure some people have seen, really beautifully. Um, yeah, it was really rejuvenated my spirit, and I think a lot of other people's spirit in the city after and before what were nights of very tough gassings in the streets.
Yeah, I so because like you said, you are a multi hyphenate artist, but it does seem like you've been dancing in front of the federal courthouse, dancing at the street. You
Yeah.
you hosted this dance off. Is there a reason why you feel like you're using sort of that skill more in this moment than, I don't know, comedy?
I think anybody who knows me personally knows I just am dancing all the time. And because of COVID, there was like a period where that was only by myself in my own house, or like maybe with like a friend or somebody like outside. So it's not the same energy. So I've just really been so grateful, and even in terms of being able to perform, I've just been, again, because of the movement that's popped up, I've just been really grateful to safely or not be around the community here and express that joy, and my favorite way to express joy, which is shaking my booty.
Yeah. Well, and as you mentioned, so there's the dancing, but also there's quite a lot of tear gas. And I saw that you posted on Instagram something that maybe kind of gets to the heart of what it's like to be like leading dance offs, but then also getting tear gas nightly. Where I think you were quoted saying, "This isn't a peaceful protest; it's a joyful protest." So could you kind of elaborate on that distinction?
um Uh, I will, for the sake of elaborating on it now, but it definitely was something I thought of and hadn't fully fleshed out. You know what I mean? I was just like, this is gonna sound really cool, and inspirational. That's just me being totally honest. Um, but I think the message, because it did come from my heart. The message I at least wanted to, I guess, communicate was the idea of a peaceful protest. I think so many terms and so many things in this time are just so politicized that they lose a lot of their meaning and a lot of their value, to the point where they're just terms. And I don't know if peaceful protest has fully gotten to that point yet, but I kind of feel like, um, for certain people, they either don't inherently agree with the idea of a peaceful protest, or they don't see the point of a peaceful protest, or I guess at best they might be jaded by just the term peaceful protest in general. So I guess it was a bit of an effort to refocus the spirit of that, but add what what I think is important, which is the resilience that is joy. Um, because if I love the location of the dance protest because like we were close enough to where we could see the federal courthouse, and so there were definitely people watching us, and just the idea that they saw that we, despite knowing we were going to march into town and I was going to get tear gassed and like want to vomit, I was still, and everyone was still joyous and happy. So that is, I think, a bigger threat, quote unquote, to the government than a peaceful protest, because a joyful protest is one that isn't going to stop.
Since you've been out there sort of like from the beginning, um, how has your relationship as like an activist changed to the protests over these past 2 months? Like, do you feel like your approach has shifted in any way?
Definitely. I do still not fully accept, being called an activist because I feel like what I'm doing is being a reactivist, which is kind of using my platform to react to the things I feel are injustice. I think I'm a black man in Portland. I obviously have a lot of experiences racially, and a lifetime of being in the system that makes so this isn't something that I had to be inspired to do. This just like yelling about black issues and black experience. Like if you watch my comedy, even though it's like funny, it's still like, yo, being black though is hard, right? It's kind of like what I get to in a lot of it. So I feel like I have like a large platform and I'm speaking genuinely and I'm just kind of reacting and being there. And that's not just like discredit myself and say like I haven't, organized things and been out there. But I think an activist, in my eyes, is someone who, when this movement isn't going on, when there isn't the national media attention around a Trayvon or a Ferguson or a George Floyd, there's still 9 to 5 every day. What are we doing to dismantle, the system? Um, did that answer? Oh, and you asked me how my perspective has shifted. Um, it's shifted. It shifts really every day. This is for those of us who have kind of been involved, or engaged, rather, both, I guess, and participating in and staying informed in the information on Twitter or Instagram or on wherever, and Signal in person about the movement. There has been so much. No, the easiest way to put it is drama, but it's like bigger than that. It's like people using kind of a vacuum of like not like emotion and this moment where everyone's so emotionally charged to whatever their agenda is, do it, and it isn't necessarily genuine. And we've seen a lot of that, at least I feel, here in Portland from various places. And, you know, just so many things. Rest in peace to Riot Ribs, another piece of just like Portland. So it's just every week is just we're constantly processing and reassessing how we do things, because even like a month ago when it was still just us versus the Portland police, we wouldn't have known we'd be where we are now, where we're now coordinating against like the feds kidnapping us in minivans, So it really shifts every day. If anything, for me personally, I've grown a lot more cautious about being reactive to things, because that's, I guess, another thing that's caused me and caused me drama, and I've seen it in my spheres. It's just kind of, you know, we're in this time where everyone feels their cause is so justified, or they're really like doing good for the community. It could really, at least for me, it's blinded me from just having like rational thought and like doing normal human check-ins with myself and things like that. Um, so yeah, I've learned to just take things slow and not yell about anything new unless I've slept on it.
Yeah, sure.
I'll yell about old things for sure, but nothing new until I've slept on it and I've deemed it worth yelling after a night of sleep.
Yeah. So you have been super visible at the protests. Like I mean, you were in Willamette.
Me? Me?
Yes, that. Like I mean, you were in Willamette Week like 3 times. I've seen
Yeah.
your picture in the Oregonian. You're posting on social media. Are you worried about that kind of visibility making you more vulnerable or less safe?
Absolutely. But not to be too immediately dark, but like the best reaction I can give to that instantly is there's a Malcolm X quote that I believe if you aren't ready to die, take the word freedom out of your vocabulary is something it's along the lines of something like that. Um, I do not believe anything, despite my level of visibility and quote unquote activism. I do not believe at least anything I've done online is federally or Portland like illegal. So if I'm gonna, be targeted by some group or the police or the feds, cool. I have this level of visibility. So as soon as they do that, there will be more people there the next day asking where I am. And this fight will continue. It's bigger than
All right. Well, those are all my questions. Unless you have anything else
me.
you want to add or ask.
um, uh, yeah, for the Portland audience, please consider writing into Ressa Rayford this coming November for Portland mayor. Thank you for having me.